This happened in the spring of last year. On a cloudy night, I woke up from the fact that I wanted to go to the toilet. Overcoming my laziness, I slowly began to pull on my pants over my nightgown and slowly walked to the front door. His gaze fell on the wall clock. On them the arrows showed 1 o'clock. It should be mentioned that our family lives in an urban-type village. We have a vegetable garden and a large yard. And we entrusted the protection of such a large area to 2 huge Caucasian shepherds. The toilet was located near the fence that separated the yard and the garden. Taking a flashlight, putting on a jacket and turning on the street light, I went outside. It was very dark as clouds covered the moon. I called the dogs to me. It didn't seem so scary with them, stroked them and went to the toilet. After leaving it, I was in no hurry to go into the house, but enjoyed the freshness of the spring night. I was distracted by a strange noise outside the fence. Looking out from behind the toilet, I could not make out anything in the darkness behind the fence, and even the light from the lantern on the house only interfered, beating off the light on the metal grid. The dogs were just behind the house at that moment. The noise grew louder. After a moment, I realized that it was a slow run on the film of the garden covered for planting. The sound was approaching from the neighbor's east side and was heading parallel to our yard. I quickly crept up to the net to the grapes that were trailing along it, raised my hand with a flashlight above the net and turned on the light. My heart sank into my heels. A huge hunchbacked creature with long legs was running through the garden 20 meters away from me. The charcoal gray creature stopped and looked in my direction with its scarlet eyes. The wind blew an unpleasant smell of burning. It lasted about 10 seconds. Then the beast turned away and ran on its way. The flashlight trembled in my hands. I slowly moved away from the grid and jerked when the Caucasians were flying in my direction. They pounced on the net like mad and began to bark loudly. I hardly remember what happened next. How I ran at the speed of light to the house and dressed and dived under the blanket. I couldn't sleep, just stared out the curtained window. I constantly replayed in my thoughts the moments when it looked at me. I was really scared. In the morning, I told my father everything that had happened. He said that it was probably a dog, but I kept repeating that there are no such dogs, and even more so wolves. Our dogs in the morning were twitchy and nervously rushed around the enclosure, as if they still felt an unknown mystical creature. I didn't find any traces of the monster in the garden, and that made it even more creepy. A year has passed, but since then I haven't seen this monster. But I try not to go out at night anymore.
I created the channel quite recently. Please write in the comments what I need to change in the video. Please support me by liking and subscribing to the channel.